Just a little quick background on myself. I've been a long-time affiliate. I work now full-time on the internal lead generation for Underground Elephant. But I have managed the network at the company as well, so I have a network perspective as well to cover. So hope that we'll have fun. Just so I know who I'm talking to, can you raise your hand if you're an affiliate? Okay. And if you are a network? Okay. And what about advertisers? Okay. Is there anybody else? What are you? No? Okay. Well, that's good to know. Pretty split. So let's get started. The name of today's discussion, Step Up Your Revenue with Lead Gen Expertise. In the industry, I've found that networks kind of use CPL and CPA kind of interchangeably. But for the purpose of my presentation, I refer to CPL offers only for lead generation offers. And the defining thing being you're capturing interest of a consumer. You know, you're getting them to submit their name, their number, phone, and some basic information to be contacted for another service. Whereas CPA, cost per acquisition, cost per sale offers, you're capturing a sale, a transaction, a credit card is being used. Which we won't be covering any of those offers in this discussion. We'll be primarily focused on CPL offers. Quickly, the benefits of CPL offers are shorter forms, obviously equal higher conversions. Less information and less sensitive information equals higher conversions. As well as there's a diverse amount of verticals to work in, and there's thousands of offers. So, next, just quickly, the main verticals of lead generation. Education, financial. Obviously, within financial, there's debt, loan mod, tax debt, mortgage, payday. I mean, there's a lot within that big financial umbrella, as well as insurance. There's life, auto, health. And there are a lot of other lead generation verticals as well, but these are the three big ones to go after. Which brings me to like my big analogy, I guess, for this presentation. Yeah, I come from a literature background, and so if for some reason or another, the plot of a novel and the life of an offer kind of coincide for me. In a novel, you know, you have your conflict, your rising action, your climax, and then the rapidly falling action. Kind of, I don't know if for, you know, you affiliates out there, you've probably experienced that life cycle with an offer. You know, there's this struggle to get it to back out, or it's not backing out at all. It finally starts to take off. It's climbing, it's climbing. You reach these days where you have this incredible volume and revenue and everything is backing out perfectly. And then it all kind of just goes away almost immediately. Really, I mean, it's devastating. And a couple of reasons, well, before I get into that, I guess the key really for me in order to kind of make the most of my revenue is I kind of chart where my offers are at and kind of optimize based on its position. Once I'm out of that struggle zone and I see that it's climbing up the chart and I can kind of forecast that I'm a week or maybe a few days away from hitting that climax point, I'll use that time to negotiate my payout with my networks because I know that I have that pocket of time to work with. And I know that I am promising additional volume and I know that I can deliver it. Whereas if I kind of sit back and wait and don't negotiate till later, I could be negotiating by the time the offer is dwindling away. So kind of my plan is always to stagger my growth. I always have something, you know, in that conflict area just working itself out, something rising, something in the climax point, and then obviously there's always offers falling off. And I kind of time it so that I'm never without a day where something isn't at the apex point of the chart. So kind of why does this drop off, why does this decline really happen? Well, My theory is that there's 3 factors that are all fighting at the same time. There's a natural creative burnout, which you can fight with, rotating your creatives, loading multiple creatives. There's a placement burnout, where if you're mailing to the same list, you may have caught all the fish in that pond, and you may need to do new media buys. But then there's this other factor that fights with these other 2 factors, which I like to call the network factor. And that's basically that when you're running an offer through a network and you start to hit that really high volume, that you may kind of see them pulling back, and you may suspect that there's some scrubbing or shaving going on at a higher rate. And the reason for that is that most of the time an advertiser, at least through my experience, once the volume hits that high point, they start pulling back and kind of don't need as much traffic. My experience with advertisers has been in the beginning, they're begging and begging and begging for traffic. And once you start getting a lot of traffic, all of a sudden caps are filled. They have allocations for other resources. They have other commitments, and they need to pull back, or they need to scrutinize your traffic before you move forward. So those 3 factors kind of kill an offer, basically. And for me, I've just kind of accepted that and identified the problem, and kind of the way I combat it is loading multiple offers, and just am constantly in rotation because of that. Oops. So, like I said, the same goes for a network too. It's really easy to have a bunch of good offers and your pubs are running them really well, and to kind of sit back and hit that high point. And what happens is even your pubs get tired of running the same offers over and over and over again, and the returns start diminishing as well. So really the key for both an account manager and a publisher is to just stock up on offers, stock up on the same offer in multiple places, and just be ready and monitor where your growth is at on the chart, and be sensitive to know that you have a limited pocket of time, because all of them are going to start dwindling down. My next big tip on how to increase profits is to know thy advertiser. Fortunately, in lead generation, there are really only a handful of major advertisers for each vertical. For education, there's a handful. For financial, there's a handful, and for insurance. So it's really important as a publisher to learn who they are for each vertical you work on. Be able to identify them by the offer name, the look of the creative, their privacy policy. It's just kind of doing your diligence, but it will pay off, because some advertisers' offers convert better than others. And rather than just keep trying and offer, once you can identify that this advertiser converts at this rate, you'll know who to go after and who maybe to not go after, because the margins aren't there. Some advertisers are heavy-handed with returns, and you kind of only learn that by going the hard way. But it's worth it to just know the advertiser. When you get returns, document it. Keep a chart on every advertiser that you work with, so that way you don't have to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Also, while some advertisers always pay, others may take forever to pay or won't pay at all. So as a pub, here's my example of there's been some advertisers that I've worked with in the past that I suspect that they scrub pretty heavily, just based on my experience. I know what my campaigns convert at, so I'm pretty, they're not tricking me when they're, scrubbing my offer. But I still will work with them even though they're scrubbing at a high rate, because they always pay, and they pay quick. And so you kind of have to take that, weigh that out of there'll be some other advertisers that, have great conversion rates, but you have to wait 60 days to get paid. And I don't know, everyone's financial situation is different, but for me, sometimes I'll take a loss in order to just have that cash flow. So I really recommend, in order to like really optimize things, to be aware of your advertiser's payment cycle and what they're doing. So kind of a couple basic tips. I'm sure you guys all know about these, but I thought I'd put them out here of how to know who your advertiser is obviously first step, look at the privacy policy. Most of the time the advertiser identifies itself right in the privacy policy. Second is to take the offer URL and to put it in Whois. In Whois, you can find the advertiser information, IP address, contact info. Sometimes you have the Alexa ranking. There's a lot of good information there to use at your disposal. Next little trick I use, and there's probably an easier way to do this, but this is just what I have on habit. I go to the command prompt and I'll ping the offer's URL, and then they'll give me the IP address, and then I'll take that IP address and do a Bing search and see all the offers that are on that URL. It's useful some of the time. The good thing to look at it is you can see other verticals that maybe an advertiser that you like works in. You know, you'll see, oh, whoa, they have a mortgage, a loan mod, a debt. You know, I can go find these other offers that are out there. Or you can, you know, there's a lot of good uses for it. Sometimes it's not useful for two reasons. One, advertisers are sometimes only store an individual offer on an individual IP, so your search will only pull up the offer that you already knew about. Secondly, some advertisers use hosting companies that will have zillions of offers on the same IP. So take it with a grain of salt, but sometimes you find gold in performing that search. Last tip on how to figure out your advertiser is ask your affiliate manager. It sounds like really basic, but sometimes they'll just straight up tell you, which I know that they're not supposed to, but it happens, and it's great because it saves a lot of the legwork. Once you've identified the advertiser, keep a chart of your experience working with them. I get kind of crazy with like my data keeping, so I understand it's probably not for everybody, but I literally have a spreadsheet that has the advertiser name, when I ran with them, the conversion rate, what kind of traffic I sent, the payment time, and if there were returns, and what kind of returns. Were they acceptable, or was it kind of nitpicky? Did I feel like I was getting ripped off? Like, I write all these notes down because, to be honest, like, I'm running so many offers all at once, like using that life cycle thing, that it's easy for a month to go by and just forget about it. So I really recommend keeping all these notes, because that's really how you're going to make the most in the lead generation space, is to work with the people who treat, you know, your traffic correctly, and not work with the people who you feel like are ripping you off, or you don't have a good relationship, or bad conversion rates. Another thing to think about is you may find an advertiser you really like and you can do volume with, and it may be worth pursuing a direct relationship. You know, the benefit is higher payout, possible higher conversion rates. However, in most cases, I'd recommend sticking with a network because they kind of protect you in being able to float payments. Most advertisers pay their networks a lot later than networks pay their publishers, like net 30, 60, 90. I know my experience working with networks, I've not had to wait that long to get paid, so it would be very difficult for me to work on that timeline. Another way, another reason to kind of work with a network instead of an advertiser is using a network puts less scrutiny on your leads. Since the network is viewed as one source by the advertiser, even though there's traffic from multiple places. Sometimes advertisers, like if you work direct with them, not only do you have to generate these quality leads, but you have to like have them close, and you have to start dealing with these percentages that as an affiliate, when you just work with the network, you're just responsible for generating quality leads. But when you start working with the advertiser, there's all these other concerns that come in to play that might not be worth pursuing. So back to my chart, is really the thing to keep in mind when you start negotiating with your AM is to just know where your particular offer is, where its growth rate is, and to pick up the same offer on several networks and use them to stagger your profit stream. I mean, most offers are on at least 10 different networks. Like, you can pick up the same offer over and over and over again, which is what I do. And I just stagger it out so that I always have the same steady stream, and I don't really have to change my campaigns that much. Once you have that same offer on the networks, you can use this as leverage in getting a higher payout. This forces the networks to compete for you. You can go to your account manager and say, hey, I have the same offer for 15 at another network, but I want to work with you. Can you match it? Most of the time that does the trick, and you can get that higher payout. Just something to keep in mind based on my experience is sometimes the highest paying offer does not convert the same as an offer with a lower payout. So you should just keep that in mind, test it, run multiple, keep chart of it, and use that as leverage to get a higher payout. Another way to get faster payouts with your account manager is to just be really honest with them, explain your financial situation. Be like, look, I'm working with another network that's paying me weekly, and since I pay for all my media up front, it's really the only way I can stay afloat. I want to work with you, but I can't stay afloat net 30. Most account managers are going to sympathize with you and go to bat for you because they get it. You know, they understand that you're not trying to manipulate the situation. My other tip is to be ready and able to pause. So sometimes you have to do the takeaway. And in most cases, it's well worth it to lose a few days' revenue in order to get better payment terms with a network. You know, I'm just completely honest with them and say, look, I'm not going to be able to run any more traffic until I get paid. You know, my credit card's maxed out. As soon as you can get me payment, I'll be able to go live again. Usually after a couple days of no traffic, the payment terms get loosened up, at least based on my experience. But just keep in mind, too, that if you have the same offer set up on several networks, that you shouldn't have to lose out on these revenues when you have to, you know, play hardball and negotiate your payment terms. I mean, that's another tactic that you have going on, is that you can turn to network A, you know, and say, look, I need weekly payout, pause, but still be running the same offer on network B. So another one of my tips is to have a good relationship with your affiliate manager. You know, I sound kind of like, give me the money all the time, and it's really easy to go there all the time. But the truth is that, like, AMs are most likely to give higher payouts to affiliates they like and who are nice to them. You know, use network opportunities like Affiliate Summit to, like, strengthen your relationships. Like, go have a beer with your AMs. You know, put a face behind it. In more cases than not, they'll go to bat for you when you need it. And the relationship is completely reciprocal, so it's in their benefit to help you and in your benefit for them to like you. So next I'm going to cover, like, giving out higher payouts from a network's perspective. I just covered, like, a bunch of ways for, like, pubs to go at a network to get more money, but, you know, as a network, there's definitely ways to manipulate things. As an AM, I always know the margins you're working on and be able to calculate it before giving out a payout. Get specific numbers from your pubs when they say they can do more volume. You know, ask what kind of volume they normally do and with similar offers, and get, like, concrete numbers, because it's really easy. I mean, as a pub, I can be like, hey, give me 15. I can do a lot more volume. And I've made no promises there, and I've probably just gotten, you know, a few extra dollars for no reason. But in most cases, if a higher payout will mean more volume, it pays off to pay out. Like, you can do the math and figure it out, and almost every single time, it's worth giving an extra dollar or two. A good recommendation is to try a 3-day payout bump to see if the increase in volume is really there with the higher payout. This will protect you in the event they can't deliver more volume. The key from a network's perspective in giving higher payouts to pubs is just to take calculated risks. like to know that sometimes it's worth it to break even on an offer for, different factors. One reason is that you may be able to go back to your advertiser and ask for a higher payout with an increase in volume. So maybe you break even for 2 or 3 weeks, but you know that your relationship's really good with this advertiser and you can probably get more money out of them. Also, it's probably worth to break even on an offer if this pub is really good and awesome, and you know that you can lose out on this offer, but that he's going to pick up the same offer or another offer and run it, and you can make the profit back on it that way. So something to consider, that just to calculate your risk instead of considering it like a gamble, to know kind of what you're going into. And you can protect yourself with like 3-day payout bumps. So when to give weekly payments? I think that kind of with an individual publisher, you can loosen the payment timeline since you know that they don't have the same cash flow to float media buys as a network. But I would say wait until you've worked with them long enough to get paid by the advertiser you're working with for their traffic. So whatever sales cycle the advertiser that you're working with, make sure that the first round of traffic has cleared the advertiser before you go to a weekly payout, or else you could be stuck with a lot of money. Again, back to like know how quickly you can get quality reports back from the advertiser. If it takes the advertiser 30 days to get back returns or a quality report, then I would wait to go to net 7 terms, because it'll just be too dangerous. And again, it's like making a gamble, whereas taking a calculated risk. If you have a good relationship with your advertiser, you can loosen the payout timeline as well. If you've been working with them a long time, you kind of know that there's not this unexpected return factor. Use that, just keep that in the back of your mind, that it's not always worth it to stick by the rules, because sometimes pubs need to feel like the rules are being broken for them specifically, and it can go a long way in terms of like goodwill for the relationship. Again, this is me with like my data capturing, is that from a network side, I keep a log of the advertisers I work with and kind of score what my relationship is like that, so that when a pub comes at me for a higher payout on an offer, I can just quickly glance and be like, oh, well, advertiser X is that. I know they always have my back. I'm going to hook this guy up. We're going to get the traffic rolling. So here's a couple other tips that I have about network checks for fraud publishers. In the application process, it's important to verify the publisher with the contact information that they submit. Sometimes they'll submit X contact info, but then either call you or hit you up on AIM from different contact methods. It's really important to not approve them unless you can get a hold of them with the number they've provided, or an email or something like that that was submitted in the application. If they provide a site where they claim their traffic is from, look at its Alexa ranking to verify their information. If they say that they have 100,000 hits, look it up, like verify it. And then it goes the other side as well. Like publishers need to do checks for working with networks. It's pretty easy to like start up a network. It just takes like getting a website and some offers. And unfortunately, against my better instinct, I've ran with some networks that were fraudulent. And in those situations, I did have like this instinct of like something seems awry about this, but there's just so many networks out there that there's just, you're like, this has to be legit because they all have goofy names and they all have, So trust your instinct. Use sites like WickedFire to look up a network that you're thinking about working with that you haven't heard of or you're not familiar with. Usually there's somebody out there saying something about them by now. Really scrutinize the website of the network you're considering working with. I mean, I take it as a publisher perspective that like I'm making an investment working on an offer. I'm fronting the money, or I'm fronting the resources. So I because I've been burnt in the past, I've not allowed myself moving forward to get lazy about doing the research. I ask new networks for references all the time before starting to work with them. So in conclusion, kind of a few of my tips are to chart the life cycle of each offer and to optimize your campaign based on the position. Stockpile similar offers so that you can always have an offer headed towards its highest point on the chart. Know your advertisers. It's key. And then ask for higher payouts at key growth periods of your offer. And then affiliate managers do calculated risks with payout bumps rather than gambles. And make friends with your affiliate manager. And it's important for both networks and publishers to screen for fraud and to know who they're doing business with to take that extra step. So that's basically it. I'd like to leave this open for some questions from the audience.
So what or who do you recommend that or the publishers to join from a network's perspective?
So the question was what networks should, or what networks I could recommend a publisher working with. Well, I mean, truthfully, Affiliate Summit, you can walk the meat market right now, and most, I would say all of the people that have the money to exhibit and send their staff out and have printed business cards and materials and gifts are legit. I mean, of course, you're going to run into problems or whatnot, but it's really easy to hide behind the internet for these fraudulent companies. So I would just really base your decision on using sessions like Affiliate Summit to find good networks to work with. Anybody else?
Once you get a hold of a potential affiliate that's interested in running offers in your network, what sort of things do you do to determine whether they're a legitimate affiliate or not?
Well, I mean, talking with them, you can just, once you call them and literally talk to them, there's a lot of questions that you can ask about, how long they've been working, what's the story of their company, and get a feel for them that way. There's also like nitty-gritty things to look at. IP location of where they submitted their application. If they're using a foreign IP address with contact information in Texas, kind of raises a red flag to me that something weird is going on. But I'd say, really honestly, having a conversation with them and them answering real questions intelligently, like how you would answer them back, is the biggest thing to go after.
What's something as like, say I'm an affiliate and I can ask the account manager that would be beneficial to me to help me in my everyday business? Like something that, you don't get asked a lot, or something if I were to call you, what would be a good question? Something if I needed help some way or another, what's a way that you could really, hammer home something that we should be doing in our business? You don't see every day.
Yeah, I mean, I always wonder, I feel like there's this natural tension between affiliates and networks. I mean, I have the animosity too as a pub working with a network, but it's kind of silly because a network has a lot of resources at its disposal to help pubs optimize campaigns and to provide better creatives. And I kind of often wonder why pubs don't ask, how is this converting for your other publishers? Am I higher, lower, medium? How am I ranking compared to the other traffic? And what are your other sources doing? For some reason, that conversation doesn't happen very often, at least based on my experience. But I think as a pub, it would be really useful to know how I rank with a mass amount of traffic. Well, right now I love education. I don't know if anyone else in the room is running education offers. Yeah. There's just a lot to choose from. And especially this time of year, there's a lot of, the consumer side of it is there, and the payouts are decent. So that, I mean, but don't all go pick up education offers, please. No, I'm just kidding. We're all friends. But yeah, education is really big right now.
When you, as a publisher, when you take on a new program, if you're either fronting it with a BBC or with, as you mentioned, with your resources, how much time do you give something to see if it's working up to your standards?
Well, like an offer or a whole vertical?
An offer.
Okay. Well, if it's an offer in a vertical I've never worked in before, I'll spend a lot more money than normal because I'm like, well, maybe I don't know how to, or maybe my campaigns aren't optimized for this. I like to be specific. So like payday, okay? Let's say I'm just getting into payday and, you know, I'm willing to invest a couple $1,000s on it to get it to work because I know in the end, once I figure it out and get it to work, that it'll be worth it. But when I pick up a debt offer, like I know debt like the back of my hand, like I generate debt leads in my sleep, like I've been doing debt forever. So I don't spend very much. I'll spend $100 at the most. And if the offer isn't converting, I know something's either wrong technically or there's something wrong, like the advertiser's shaving, scrubbing, whatever you want to call it. Something is going on because I know that my debt campaigns convert at X no matter what. So I think it just depends based on the experience.
What kind of publishing are you doing? What's the content? You're driving pay-per-click to...
So there's pay-per-click, and then social and display are the three types of you know, traffic that I do.
And are you driving to your site? You're doing something there? Are you going right to the offers? How are you...
It kind of depends on the offer. Like right now, like I said earlier, I work 100% on the internal lead generation for Underground Elephant. So I don't bother with, you know, jump pages anymore because but back when I was doing third-party offers, I would do jump pages between my campaign and the offer page so that I can, first of all, for like better tracking, and second of all, sometimes I didn't completely put a lot of faith in that main page was going to get it done, so I needed to use that jump page to kind of entice the consumer to continue down the path and to submit their information.
Are you utilizing Facebook or Google more on, like, you know?
It depends on the vertical, to be honest. Some things just don't work on Facebook, and some things do beautifully on Google. But it really depends on the niche, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot of competition on Facebook right now. What's up with that, guys? No, just kidding. Anything else? Ah ha ha! That's my elephant. Cheap marketing stunt. I apologize. Well, thank you all. If there's no more questions, I have my contact information. I was recently married, so although my name is Lauren Palazzo and everything, probably next time you see me, I will be Lauren Alexander. So I don't want to like disappear in terms of you being able to contact me. I work for Underground Elephant. There's my phone number, El Palazzo or Lauren at undergroundelephant.com. You can always hit me up on AIM. I just sit on that all day long and chat. D5 Lauren. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, and I would, you know, love to talk and have more specific conversations with anybody or get any tips that anyone wants to offer me, because there's a lot out there to learn. So thank you for your time.